Hey, welcome to the Real Estate Excellence Podcast with your host, Tracy Hayes. Once again, best of the best, and I have a unique guest here, at least unique of the first 40-some episodes, and she is deep into the real estate business in multiple ways. She's a licensed Florida real estate instructor since 2006. She is the owner of the Accredited Real Estate Institute, which provides pre-licensing, post-licensing, continuing education, professional development, and specialty courses for the real estate professionals. She has authored training courses. Brokers have hired her to come in and do special trainings within their own offices. Christine has been licensed as a real estate professional for over 2 decades. She has been recognized by the Florida Realtor Honor Society, was named Jacksonville Magazine Strong Woman of the Year in 2021, as she recently featured in Voyage Jacksonville on online magazine that recognizes inspiring women. Let's welcome Christine Williams to the show.
Thank you, Tracy. So glad to be here. This is so exciting, guys.
I am so glad you came in and more reading about your bio, and I know I'm just tipping on the surface. I couldn't find a LinkedIn on you. So I was doing investigation. So we're going to dig in deep here, and our audience is going to experience it with me. I got to first, though, tell us about the Florida Realtor Honor Society. I saw that award there.
So I've always been an overachiever. Mm-hmm. And I was the little nerd girl growing up that was in the National French and English Honor Society, so I guess I just had to carry through as an adult. Gosh only knows. But in any event, it is something that I don't think has been promoted well. It is here, any realtor in the state of Florida has the opportunity to be honored this way. And some folks, it's an annual recognition.
Right.
So there's a form you can find at Florida Realtor, at the website, what is it, floridarealtor.org or whatever the heck we are, and on their education page, or just call them. And the deadline is probably already passed for 2021.
Right.
But it's based on your contribution to the community, to the profession. So you need to be able to do charitable work, be fully involved in our profession, such as Legislative Days is coming up in Tallahassee in February, right. The annual event. If you've served on committees, all types of stuff like that. So it's a point system. So, and then you have to get it verified through your local real estate board, and then you turn in the application, and that's how you get recognized.
So it is exemplifying your dedication to the real estate industry.
As opposed to agents who are just in it just for the production and the checks.
Right. Awesome. So, Christine, we're going to get back on track with our show here now that we found out what the Honor Society is all about. Where are you from?
Oh, goodness. Originally from a small town in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. So that's where I was born and raised. But I have a unique background in that I tell everybody I'm a mixed breed or a pound puppy because I'm half American. My father was American. My mother, who has passed, was Belgian.
Oh, awesome.
So I lived in this teeny tiny southern rural small town in southern USA.
Right.
But to go see my grandparents and visit my family, I traveled to Europe.
Awesome.
So I have a very eclectic background.
Belgium, one of those. A lot of people I have on the show want to venture to Europe and really spend some time. Obviously, it sounds like you've spent a lot of time.
Yeah, I've obviously been to Belgium. Actually, my first trip was I was 2, and apparently I was that child on board that mortifies everybody. I apparently cried the whole 9 hours. So in any event, so I'm very happy that I've experienced both sides. So
do you speak their language?
No. So Belgium has 2 national languages, depending on where you are. My mother lived and was born she actually was born in the Belgian Congo in Africa in a hut, but that's a whole different topic.
Yeah,
right?
wow.
so she was raised in Brussels, Belgium. So that national language is French, but it's a different dialect than France French. Mm-hmm. So they still look down on the Belgian French as the English look down on us.
Right.
And in the more rural areas, Dutch is the national language, or Flemish, which is a dialect of Dutch. So it's very interesting. So I was required growing up to take when you take a foreign language.
Right.
I took 2 years in high school and 2 years in college of French. But as you indicated that I've had 2 decades of real estate experience, I'm a little older now, and that knowledge has gone away.
Did Mom speak the language?
Not
at home?
Not at the home.
Not at home. Okay. Interesting. So you graduated from high school in this small town? Is that
yes?
You grew up there?
I went to UNC Chapel Hill.
Okay. So what was your aspiration at that time as a career? I mean, as a young person, what were you thinking about doing?
So interestingly enough, for some reason, I decided that from the age of 14, I wanted to be a clinical psychologist.
Oh.
No idea where that
I always
came
thought
from.
I should be a psychology major, though. I
I
really
think we
do
all
enjoy
need
watching people.
psychologists.
We were watching some people at some parties the other night. We won't mention which ones, but we were watching.
Right. And so those, we all joke being in real estate, right? Mortgages, real estate title, that we feel like we are therapists.
Yes.
So, and I don't know that a 4-year professional psychology degree has helped me, because humans bewilder me every day.
Right.
But in any event,
It's because you know what you know. That's why they
like,
bewilder
why
you.
are they doing this? So in any event, age 14 on, so I declared my major as a sophomore, which a lot of people have a hard time doing. So I never wavered from my area of concentration, much to the chagrin of my father,
Right.
who was like, get a degree in business. Well, Dad, at 51 years old, you were right. In any event, so I got a degree in psychology. I worked in group homes with folks with all types of diagnoses, let's just say, right? To be PC these days.
Yeah.
So, and then I realized it's kind of, it is dead end. We all know those people, you have to have heart and compassion. You are caring for folks that have extra challenges in life, and the income is capped. End of story. It's probably the same income level that it was 30 years ago. And I'm like, what am I doing with my life?
Right.
So, and since I had traveled around the world just, through family experiences, I felt like living in that small area wasn't enough. I was craving more. So at the age of 23, I told my father I'm moving to Florida. He goes, excuse me? What? You don't have a job?
What did your dad do?
And work-wise?
Career. Yeah, what's this?
All types of stuff, but basically, like worked in he was supervisor in manufacturing plants and did some sales and different stuff.
Right.
Just ethical man.
Right.
Gave me my work ethic.
Right.
So I said, I'm going to move to Florida and get settled, and then go back and get my master's degree. Once I established residency, he said, you're a family, everything you've ever known is here. What in the world?
Right.
But I've always beaten to my own drum and that kind of thing. So sure enough, 23, I moved to Tallahassee.
Yeah.
I literally had people say, what brought you there? I said, well, crassly speaking, my U-Haul and $1,000 in my bank account. I didn't have a place to live, didn't have a job. I did.
That's great. So you get to Tallahassee. What's the first thing you're doing? I mean, how to lead me up to the real estate world? You're almost there, but you must have did something else. You're only 23 at this time, and you're already exposed to me. You and I are the same age. So, what did you land in Tallahassee? What'd you start doing?
So I got there and I waited tables, because that's always a good fallback job.
Always,
so I do have big respect for everybody in the hospitality industry. I've done it off and on throughout my life as I've needed to fill in the gaps.
I question anybody who has never waited tables.
Thank you.
Yes.
Well, yes. We could have
We've
a whole
all.
podcast
If you
on
have
that,
not
right?
worked in a restaurant, whether it's washing dishes or waited tables,
please.
If that's not on your resume,
please have compassion, folks.
Yeah.
We're not going down that road today, but yes.
Yeah.
So that's always a good fallback. So it's hard work, people. So I did that and got a job in property management, because I was just applying for different professional jobs with salaries and whatnot. So I think within 8 months or a year, I got a job as a leasing consultant in property management. And within 6 months, I became the manager of a community where they fired the manager. Of course, that didn't go over well, because she thought I was after her job, the little 24-year-old Missy. So I ended
You're
up...
24 too, right? About this time, 25 tops, right?
So I got into property management, and I really enjoyed it. And it was a private company. And so I took it upon myself, 24, 25, to write the company policy manual. Nobody asked me to do that. Again, overachiever, nerd girl. So I did. And the owners were impressed. And next thing I know, I somehow become the problem solver. And they ended up moving me around. They sent me this is a very little known fact, and I'll deny it, although we're about to go public with this information. I lived in Alabama for 6 months. Who knew? Because they transferred me there to clean up a community.
Right.
So in any event.
So this was a large conglomerate managing apartment complexes?
So mostly in Tallahassee, but
Alabama's not that far away.
It was a father-son company,
right.
So the father lived in Alabama. So they had the mother community was there,
right.
Their first one. So in any event, through property management, that's kind of the segue into real estate. So people kept encouraging me to get my real estate license.
Right.
So did all that. So age 26, 1996 is when I was licensed. But as we all know, or perhaps the general public doesn't know. I would hope that licensees do. There's a difference in being a real estate licensee and being a realtor member. So I joined a board and became a realtor in 1999, and that's when I launched my career, 1999, at the age of 29.
Okay. All right. So now we just by slowly developing and you overachieving, we're there. So you where do you hang your hat with Florida Homes?
Right.
As far as you're actively acquiring buyers and listing.
This is my best production year of my career.
Is that right? I think it's been for mine 16 years for sure. As far as closings, and even my wife, who also is with Florida Homes as well, she's only been doing it a couple of years, and like she's like wanting like every time she asks the phone not to ring, it rings 3 times. You know, she was telling somebody this weekend, we were at a party, and it's like, yeah, I kind of just like wanted to take December off. We've had a great year, and I need to get some personal things done. And all of a sudden, you know, a listing and 2 buyers and whatever, she's having them run all over the place.
I completely relate to that.
Yeah.
And we tell realtors, because I also obviously am an instructor and a coach, don't coast during the holidays, because then you're behind the 8 ball beginning the new year.
Yes.
However, I was in the same position. I'm like, I'm okay financially. I know I've got some folks that I'm grooming for next year. So December off, that would be a good thing.
Right.
And what do you know? I have a closing in the morning. I got a new listing last
You think you
week.
reached that level?
I'm
It's
like,
like I can take
what?
December off. No,
Yeah.
doesn't happen.
And as we all know, I'm headed out of town tomorrow as well. So you know when I'm going to get an offer on that listing? It's going to be in the next
for
couple
sure.
days.
Yeah, well, it's going to be
That's
when you're in
Murphy's Law
line
real
at the
estate.
airport or in your car or driving
Yeah.
or flying. That's how it happens. No, I mean, I was just telling the story this morning because we had the parties on Saturday night, company Christmas party and everything, and I was gonna call because I know they were going to call, like, within minutes of me needing to leave to go to these parties. And I said I'm going to message them and said don't call after 4:00. And I didn't send that message. 4:10 got that call. I knew it was going to happen. I punished myself for not sending that message out, but it's all good, right? It's feast or famine in our business. I'm sure you've
Absolutely.
experienced in 20 years. You got to get it while you can.
And that's the part that I want people to recognize too, as folks are getting started in the industry. Don't compare yourself to others. We're living in this strange world where social media dictates our behaviors and our beliefs, and it's sad to me because nobody knows what my life was like last year in comparison to how it is this year. It was a very different life financially. It was scary. I've had years in my 22 years of real estate that were terrifying financially, and then the very next year it's like, wow, I can go buy 3 houses this year.
Right.
You know, so don't compare yourself to others. Everybody's on their own journey.
There's no doubt about it. I was just thinking about that in correlation with your education side, your teaching side. I'm sure while you're teaching, and we can get in this further, you give them instruction and where that's going to stick on the wall, because a lot of them you're giving out information when you're instructing and they don't even know where to put it in their file cabinet, right? The same thing when it comes to production. We all want to compare ourselves to someone else, but it's very difficult to measure the quality of this other person may be satisfied with 5 sales a year, whatever it is, because maybe they live at that lifestyle and that's enough money for them. There's others who are growing, want to make $1 million, or they want to have a huge team. They're all on different trajectories, and obviously I think our natural thing is as humans we kind of want to measure where we're at, right? We want where
Absolutely.
are we at compared to the rest of the world. And really real estate offers this unique experience. It doesn't, you are you. You go out and get your own buy. You create your own marketing. You market it the way you want to. If it obviously reaches you to where you want to be financially and enough sales, or maybe you just want to pluck a few $1 million homes off. If that's what you want to do, you can do that.
Absolutely.
We may not all agree with your angle, but that's your angle, and God bless you.
And that there's so many pieces that so many directions we could go with that. But absolutely, first of all, as a certified real estate coach as well, I start with kind of looking back, where's your life and where do you want it to be? And then what do we need to do to get there? And so there's a whole process, and I want to encourage everybody, here we are at the end of December 2021, please have a business plan. You need to know your roadmap for the next year, and that's an annual thing. So that being said, when I ask newer agents, how much income do you want to make? They have one number, right? We all know what that number is. $100,000 is the magic number everybody wants
Is
to make
that
in
right?
real
Is that
estate.
the
Absolutely.
okay? Yeah.
I'm like, and I've got statistics here from the National Association of Realtors. The national or median income, I believe in 2020 was something like 49,000, and for the first year agent or agents that have been in the business less than 2 years, it's like 8,900. First year income.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I want people to be realistic, and it's just like what you said. What is your lifestyle? What do you need? And it's not a magic 6-figure number.
Right.
What's going to take care of your basic needs and beyond? How are you going to sustain yourself?
Because you don't know that you're comparing yourself to someone. They might have a spouse who is, who knows, somewhere making a nice salary, and you're sitting there next to comparing to someone who might be actually bringing you down because they're not as hungry, because they're okay tinkling with the business and maybe making a sale here or there, and they're good with that, and the other side of their life is being handled by their spouse who's making it, or it could be vice versa, where they are the breadwinner, might be a single mom or a dad, and they're out there trying to, they're the ones pulling the paycheck, bringing the bacon to the table.
Absolutely.
So they're super hungry. Where are you at in the scale between those two, right? In that comparison, in trying to match up.
And that's a good point as well, because I preach authenticity. So whether it's how you conduct yourself in real life and on social media, be you.
Yeah.
And so again, not to compare, but back to social media for a minute then too. Don't be afraid to show your personal life. People they will connect. Real estate is about relationships.
Yes.
So I use my personal page for, we know there's rules and you have to be careful on putting all your business on your personal. And so never mind all the deets on that. But people want to see who you are as a person.
Yes.
I just put on there last night, I said, note to self, you're too old to be on the dance floor for several hours on the holiday, at the work party that we all went to Saturday night. I'm like, oh my God, I'm sitting over here. That's wow.
Gotta go get a massage today, right?
Right. And so people want to see, oh my gosh, she's, Christine was dancing Saturday night. I wonder what that was like.
We go in, what's that cryogenic chamber where it's like really cold and your muscles are all swollen?
Yeah, but be you. That's how people connect. Real estate is about the relationships.
Yes.
It takes time to build the trust.
So, okay, this is an area I don't know, and obviously as an instructor, do you do a social media class? Is that something that you specialize in, or you just kind of stay at what's going on? How deep are you in that?
I have done some social media training. I have personally pared down. I think that especially for newer agents, we both know agents that they're highly successful in social media and they're amazing, and I would love to learn from them as well. I think that one main thing is it's so easy to get distracted in this industry. There's so many things coming at us. We get emails, we get offers for this lead system and for these ways to do things on social media, and so it's so easy to get unfocused. And I think that the important thing is to focus on a platform,
right?
Not to be on 8 different platforms. You mentioned that I have one social media link because I have pared down my social media in the past couple of years. It's too much.
Right.
So I'm focusing on one, and what do you know? Almost all of my business initiated from that one social media platform this year.
But you can cross over without doing much work. I mean, setting up a LinkedIn, I think for you, personal recommendations, because I went on there and looked and you weren't on there because of all your criteria there. But that's to me, LinkedIn is more of a stagnant thing. So occasionally you make a post, maybe sometimes I'll take my Facebook post and throw it on LinkedIn, but it takes all 30 seconds. But that post is stagnant where someone can actually research. I can research you, get to know you a little more.
So I was on LinkedIn for probably 12 years, and I was inundated with people trying to recruit me on LinkedIn,
yes,
and it was
those.
obnoxious.
Yes.
And that was almost a full-time job to monitor all those notifications. Hey, come work for us. So I don't need that.
I can see you there. Yeah, I would agree with that. But so back to the social media. But what you were saying is basically what the industry is telling you. But I think a lot of people miss this. And you said you listened to Stevie Hahn's interview, and she said it very clearly. I think too many people think, you start a podcast, you regularly on Instagram or whatever you're doing, whatever, you're posting is, that they're all of a sudden, okay, let me do a post, sit back and wait for the phone to ring. It does not work like that. social media is your Mount Everest journey, and you go and you put it in play and you start, making your post and so forth, but it's a long thing, but slowly you start going up and up and up and up and up, and you're getting more and more referrals from it. Or sometimes you get referrals, you don't even know why. I will personally say, from my postings and obviously regularly posting the podcast and so forth, a lot of deals that I've been doing this year are actually coming from my own generation. People who know me calling me, asking just, hey, I want to refi. Hey, I'm looking to buy a home, that are in my circles of influence, that know me because I'm involved like you in different things. But because I'm regularly out there, top of mind, they're seeing my Facebook post and go, oh, well, yeah, we're ready to refinance. Oh, we're ready to buy a home. We just called Tracy. So that they tell their realtor who they're going with. So it's so important, and it's a journey, and you have to start with the very first steps.
Complete agreement on that. So the social media is a plug and play, as you said. Consistency is key. Mm-hmm. Being authentic is key. But the people that you're creating the relationships. People are watching us. We're
Yes.
in a public business.
Yes.
So they're watching your posts. They're watching how you behave at that Christmas party Saturday night. They're watching everything that we do personally and professionally. So we do need to behave, and that's what I tell realtors as well. Not only is it a public awareness and presenting yourself in the correct way as a professional and still being authentic and having fun, we have laws that dictate how we behave as realtors on social media.
Right.
So, but yes, social media goes back to what you said, though. Your social media is helping you get the business, but it's because of the existing relationships that you already have, and that's an enhancement to those.
Exactly. Enhanced. That's a very good word. I didn't think about that way, but that is exactly what it's doing. It's they know you. And, what's the worst thing we can do is have friends or family say they use someone else, right? So they forget that you're in the business sometimes. But you got it, but I think social media does it, as mentioned Stevie, and a lot of the people who I've had on the podcast have been because I'm following them on social media. I'm following a lot of these realtors on social media, but I'm also noticing a lot of them are top producers. There is a correlation between, and as silly as you may think their little TikTok dance or something may be, but I think our former president showed you, the more shock and awe that you can give them, they love it. And you have a fan club.
You need attention. And so that goes back to a very good point, too. I don't even know how to overcome this as a coach and instructor. Mm-hmm. Newer agents that come to me who say, but I want to have a separate page for my business and a separate page for my friends. I don't want everybody knowing I'm a realtor. I'm bewildered.
You're in the wrong business.
I'm bewildered. We're in a public profession. Our job is to reach people and grow our connections to people.
You know what I mean? Is the reality is, it's like a doctor. You walk into a doctor and, you expose yourself because they're a doctor and they do this every day. You assume that they are professional, and we are human. We all have our thoughts and so forth, but they just get, and that's what a real true loan officer, a realtor, yes, they get to learn a little bit about you that you may not tell the average person, because they need to know the stuff to find the right home for you, your pains, so they can match up. The loan officer sees your financials. We see this on every day. I can drive through my neighborhood and tell you what people's credit reports look like. I can see the cards. I know this stuff because I do it. I don't say nothing, but that's part of the business. And so your immediate circle, after they realize you're actually in the business for a while, will refer you the greatest clients over and over and over and then.
And we talked about social media training. A couple of tips that I would love to express to everybody in the industry is, don't go and connect with other local realtors on your Facebook page. Think about who your audience is. Mm-hmm. Who are you trying to reach?
Yes.
You're not trying to reach your competition. And then I see people sharing the same memes, the same funny memes, real estate related, pop up in my feed, 18 from 18 different agents on the same 24-hour period.
Right.
Like, guys, I just saw that.
Right.
So be authentic.
Be authentic is good.
Be individual. Be unique.
All the stuff that, not necessarily John Maxwell talks about things, but if you're listening to the podcasters out there that are in our industry, whether it's loan officers or real estate agents, they are telling you put that stuff out there. Hey, you're boating in Florida. That's our lifestyle. Promote our lifestyle. Obviously put your, show your, hey, I'm going to go listing. I'm showing a house today. Look at this beautiful house I'm showing. Put that out there. Show them that you're active. You're in who you are, and they're seeing you on a regular basis. I see a lot of the top realtors. They might be coming back from the gym, and they don't look as good as they would ultimately, but that's part of showing that you're real. And people get, Stevie Hahn sat there just like you did first time. I'd never actually interacted with her directly. We had a mutual client, but we never, I talked more to obviously the client than really react to her. She sat there, and I felt I knew a lot about her because of her social media and the things that she puts out there. I mean, I felt, I had a much grounded relationship with her, talking to her because of that.
Because she's very real on social media too. We know a little bit about her personal lifestyle as well. That's and again, you want to find the balance. And you certainly don't want to vent all your relationship problems on social media.
Yes, there are some that do that. Don't do that.
Yeah, and I also, and maybe this is a personal thing, so I don't want to offend anybody, but I don't want to see your surgery pictures on social media.
Yeah.
That doesn't draw me into you.
No.
So,
do some silly dance. We'll all laugh about
dance
it.
in your gown when you're feeling better down the hospital hallway. But.
Well, that's one of the things, too. People, I have people say, that I can't, do that. They can do the silly dance, but they don't want to do the silly TikTok dance and, put it on their Instagram or whatever. But if you make someone smile, they're going to remember that. If you're just showing your surgery pictures, are too much information, next. But you see the dance, they'll play that dance 2 or 3 times, or show somebody, look at this silly dance this person's doing.
That goes back to what we said. Who is your audience? Who are you trying to reach?
Right.
And then it's an emotional. You're trying to evoke emotion out of your audience. So what type of emotion are you invoking? That ooh, or that, oh, she's a cool person.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. All right. Jacksonville Magazine Strong Woman of the Year 2021.
Caught me by surprise.
Yeah. What?
Had no idea.
Someone was following you.
I am connected with the owner of the magazine. He's got several around the country, and depending on what area, of course, Jacksonville or Phoenix or what have you. So it is a magazine, obviously a real estate magazine that features top agents in that area as well as lifestyle articles, and I know him through social media. That's that connection. And all of a sudden I get an announcement that I'm one of, I think, 18 finalists. There were 2 different awards. There was, I think, Top Woman of the Year and then Strong Woman of the Year for Jacksonville out of 18 of us. And there were some very strong contenders. So I'm like, oh, gosh, it's a popularity contest. And I'm not the top producer. So that's okay. But I was just cool to be nominated.
Right.
And then he sends me a private message. He goes, Christine. And he showed me the stats from the voting. It was a poll. So it was based on people knowing me on social media.
Well, was it other real estate agents voting? Who was that? Or just a generic, anyone who wanted to vote?
It was anybody who wanted to vote.
Well, I think, going back, your influence in the industry from being an instructor, I would imagine had a strong play in that. Because a lot of realtors, they know maybe don't know each other, but you kind of go in between. You're not only an agent, but you're an instructor, and have the accredited real estate institute. You have a greater influence and impact on a lot of people.
So that brings up 2 other points. So back to Stevie's podcast with you recently as well, where she talked about in the multiple offer situation, connecting with other realtors. That does help. I have absolutely, when you've gotten those 10 offers on the table and 3 are almost identical, I have told my sellers, listen, these are your 3 best. You get to pick what you want, but I'm going to tell you something. This agent right here, I know her.
Right. Exactly.
I know how she's going to handle this transaction. So this is going to be our smoothest transaction. So your relationships with other realtors does matter. And on that note, as I'm working on my business plan for next year, I was running my transactions and statistics and whatnot for this year to know how to prepare. And 10 of my 16 transactions this year derived from other agents around the country. So I have paid out over $28,000 in referral fees this year, but it has created more than double the income to my pocket.
Right.
So it is about relationships with consumers 100%. And our
I'm going to look right into my Facebook camera, and I don't know whichever Daniel, you got me live for straight here. This is what I've been preaching here for, since June when I started the first episode. You got to get involved. You got to get involved in NEFAR, or if you're down in St. John's, or those listening in Flagler, You got to get involved. Does that mean you have to go to every board? No, choose something. RPAC is always very important because that's the influence at Tallahassee. There's a realtor day. They give you food and you go over there, show your face, but you're traveling over there with other agents. Let them know you're involved.
From around the state.
Around the state. They're all over. Go shake hands with people that you don't know. But it's so important. Stevie mentioned as well how she's branched out and around the country and in different places and realtors that don't live here. They're one of the benefits. Northeast Florida people are moving here. Okay, want to make friends with some of those realtors up in the Midwest because they know people who are moving here.
Florida is the #1 relocation place,
Yep.
right? And so absolutely, it's those relationships with other professionals. The National Association of Realtors just had the annual convention last month in November. Florida Realtors does it every August. It's in person again. So there's all types of events all over the state, as well as social media is how you stay connected with those other agents. Some of them told me they stalked me.
You got to be present, right?
Yes.
That's the terminology. You got to be present. Now, I guarantee you there's realtors that have been in it for a couple of decades that are not as involved as they were at one time. If you're a new agent and you just took the course, I would be at NEFAR because you're joining it anyway, for example, as other boards and we might be listening. And I would be at literally every education course. Yeah, you only have to have so many hours, but no one said you can't have all the hours.
I think we need to be a perpetual learner. We talked before we went live on air that our industry changes, the laws change, the rules change, the market changes every year. We just went through a very interesting 2021, and we don't even know what 2022 is going to look like.
Speaking on this point, and you've been doing this for a while, obviously you have the institute. You are a person of influence because you have classes with a bunch of realtors who are listening to you, teach. And you're obviously, like any instructor, you're hopefully pointing out what's important and hopefully what's important that from your experience and so forth. How important is it for a new realtor or a realtor's not where they want to be to start hanging out, maybe take some really successful agents out to lunch?
Absolutely. And we've all heard the term, you become the influence of the 5 people.
It's in every one of these books that I have up here.
I mean, it is a common thread for those of us that have had coaching or are a coach in some regard. Who you associate with matters.
Yes.
In your personal life and your professional life. I'm not telling you to go discard people, but you need to, I call it plucking through my friendship garden. You need to take an assessment of who you interact with, and not somebody that's just in a different demographic level by any means, but take a look at the people that are hungry, that are perpetual learners, that want more out of life and aren't okay being stagnant.
Yeah. It's to me, the simplest, where does real estate agents hang out? Well, they do take courses at the boards all the time. That's an easy one. You're a member. It doesn't. You're in there. That's what you're paying for. Those courses. Go take them.
Go travel.
Not virtually.
Courses. Go travel.
Go travel other places.
Because I'm not a CPA, so full disclaimer. But it can legitimately be a business expense. The hotel, the travel, and the course.
What do you do on an annual basis, since we're streaming into more of the personal development, which I talk about on every show, because I think it's so important. And obviously, you as an instructor, you got to stay on top of your game, and it's not only the industry information that is new that you need to add to the existing courses that you're doing, but you personally to stay on top of your game emotionally. Psychologically, as a psychology major, right? I mean, what do you do? Are you a podcast listener? Do you grab a John Maxwell? Do you I got Ryan up here. I got Grant Cardone. What are some? Is there anybody you follow or that you enjoy reading that's non-direct educational? Like obviously the ethics. If they got a new paragraph in the ethics course, you're reading about that. I understand that part, but that you do just to keep your sword sharp.
So I have transitioned over to just being in tune. I'm a very intuitive person, so energies and that sort of thing. So of course I have several of these titles in my business library. But I think that we need to continue to develop personally as well, as you said, personal growth. And so The other piece that is you can see all over my Facebook, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, surprising little Miss Healthy former athlete girl in 3.5 years ago. So I have taken a huge interest in healthy lifestyle.
Okay.
And so what that means, not only do I have to be super aware of what I put into my body nutritionally, stress.
Yep.
Stress causes all types of autoimmunes. It causes the flare-ups. If you have one, it creates heart disease. It creates stress as a thing. Humans create stress for each other.
Yeah.
So I think that, again, go back to who are you interacting with. You need to be aware of the energies that you put out and the energies that you receive.
That's solid information right there.
That's the piece that I'm working on is the energies. And I have learned to say no. That's a full sentence.
Yeah. Who's the most influential person in your life? Or has been in your life? And doesn't say that right now. But
My father, for sure. So my father was number one. He raised me as a teenager on up. I lived with him. My favorite person in the whole world. And then the other one that comes to mind immediately was my high school track coach. So some of the things still resonate. The discipline that being an athlete teaches you, and the pushing, and to get your personal record, and to always just do a little bit more than where you were the week before.
Wow, breath of fresh air. I had Corey Hastings on here from England Volkers a few weeks ago, and Corey's played football at its highest level, very briefly, but hey, who gets there? He got there. And we were talking about coach was one of his most inspirational person. But how important is it, and hopefully we've got a lot of parents out there, to get your kids involved in something, in back, whether it's a teacher who pushes them, a coach who pushes them, a drama teacher who pushes them, whatever it is that gets them to rise to their occasion. May make them cry sometimes.
Oh, there were tears. I was physically sick, throwing up at track practice. And I'm like, Coach, I'm like dry heaving. I have nothing in me. I cannot do another lap. Mm-hmm. Push through it. I know you got it. Push through it.
Yeah.
And you do it.
I'm obviously not a runner, but let me tell you, I went to the military college of South Carolina, and I've seen guys that were a lot that would run like the wind. And yeah, they would push themselves and start vomiting. I never had to do that. I push myself, but my body. But some people's bodies are different in that, again, the stress and all those other things that are going on. But it also shows you. It's like you watch some of these videos on YouTube or whatever. These people doing the bungee jump, or we went on a cruise recently and they had one of those. What do they call confidence type courses on top of a ship 19 stories above the water, and my kids are walking around with, you don't know how proud, because they overcame a fear.
So you know where success starts? Right here.
Yep, 100%.
It's a mental thing.
It's all mental. It is all mental. I'm going to touch on two things. My daughter says to me, just for a joke, she goes, "Daddy, I'm facing my fears. I need an ice cream." So, get a little laugh out of that. That story just popped in my mind.
Behavior reward,
right? When I'm working out in the morning, I have these songs in there. One of them that I wasn't even thinking, but just it populated one day on my thing, and it was Eminem, the rapper, singing his song and talking about, if you had that one moment to grab everything you've ever wanted, would you rise to the, that occasion? And I think too many people get complacent because every day more and more people haven't been pushed, haven't had that coach in their face to say, run that extra lap, do it. And you did it because you didn't want to let him down. And God forbid you were going to let him use it as an excuse to not start you in the game or even keep you on the team. Right. I mean, that you pushed yourself, but they knew they were dealing with us psychologically. As the guys every day that show up at Paris Island for boot camp, they push those guys beyond their limits that they physically or mentally never thought they could go.
It's the fear of the unknown. And in the coaching courses, I tell folks, you are standing in your own way. You are your own roadblock. Again, it starts right here. There's plenty of things people are capable of, and they're not allowing themselves to go experience. What's the worst that can happen? It doesn't work the way you wanted it to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's okay.
And again, all these successful people will tell you they have failed.
And
They
I
have
had
failed.
many years of failure.
I literally was watching, those who watch ESPN 30 shows where they're interviewing some of these very successful athletes and so forth. And, many people may not think pro wrestling is athletics, but it is. They're performing, and they have to be at certain levels. Some of these guys, one of the biggest names in the industry, especially through the 90s, everyone still remembers him now because he'll still show up, but he literally was eating cans of tuna fish, living in some roadside motel, because at that time, you didn't have the big WWE. It was all these regional things, and they weren't making a lot of money, performing in gymnasiums, not the big ticket places. He ate that tuna, but today he's a multimillionaire because he put that time in, he pushed himself, said he was going to do it, and was present and showed up every day.
Present and showing up, and the tenacity and the consistency. So that is the key
Learning the
takeaway
industry.
for real estate folks.
Yep, he had to learn the industry. It was not only a physical, but also an entertainment.
Yes.
And that's how you get on TV, and that's how they made his money, because obviously the more they want you on TV,
Right.
you're going to pay you more, right? And that was part of his business, learning the industry. And I think it's showing up to those classes and meeting those top agents. A lot of them we've had on the show, having lunch with them, hanging out with them, maybe joining under their team because you want to learn. You're putting in your time.
Absolutely.
As an apprentice, if you have to. So you're involved. You're now. Let's talk about Accredited Real Estate Institute. Now, is it just you, or you have other instructors? How's that all formatted?
So the cool thing about that is, I again got my real estate license in Tallahassee at the Real Estate School of Tallahassee. Ed O'Donnell, and I bring his name up because that's probably mentor number 3. So it was his school, and I've moved back to Tallahassee twice since I have been over here in Jacksonville, Ponte Vedra area. And so when I went back in 2013 to Tallahassee, back into my house, and had to go back for a little bit, I ran into Ed at a continuing education course for real estate instructors. He goes, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad to see you. It's been years, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And by the way, I need another instructor. Somebody's retiring from my school. Would you be interested?" So I got hired to be an instructor at the school where I obtained my real estate license 20 years prior. So then I ended up coming back to Jacksonville. I'm like, I got the bug for that.
Right.
That's my passion and purpose, I think, is to provide education for real estate professionals. So I reached out to Ed. I said, "Listen, I don't want to, take away from you, but you're in Tallahassee. I want to start a school in Jacksonville. What do I need to do?" So I went to my mentor, and he gave me all the pieces and connected me. And it was a process.
Awesome.
But he's the one that got me started.
So over your course of your month, I mean, you probably got January planned out of what your teachings are going to be.
My teaching's through September.
Okay. Approximately how many hours are you putting in actually instructing? Because I know there's prep, there's new information you got to get a hold of and get a grasp of. But on average, or you can probably look back to this past year, how many hours are you actually instructing over a course of a month?
Bless you for bringing this up to the public, because folks think that I'm there for 3 hours and then they can call me for days.
Well, you
and
just
weeks
plugged
on
in
end.
the USB and you downloaded all
I'm
the
like,
information,
guys.
didn't you?
So generally speaking, what they say is for a licensed real estate instructor to present a course, it's 3 to 4 hours of prep time per 1 hour of instruction. There's a lot of admin work. So yes, of course, we can't just go up there, even with my cheat sheet, my textbook, and my materials and my PowerPoint. You still have to know the material.
Yep.
I still have to read it before every course. And then there's all
Stand up and present it.
Yes.
And that takes a lot. That takes a chunk. That's why you got to know your
I tell
stuff.
people, say, being on stage, you've seen me do it.
Yeah.
You have to, even particularly in a very boring real estate course called Code of Ethics or Core Law, you have to entertain the audience, right?
Right.
But then there's a bunch of admin work behind the scenes that people aren't aware of. There's rules that we have to adhere to be compliant with the state for the agents to get their continuing education. So I would say, to answer your question, the minimum is 3 to 4, but it's probably closer to 8 or 10.
Well, you're instructing not necessarily every day, but several. I assume you're doing several classes a week.
For example, so a 3-hour course, it might take me. Let's just say it might take me 2 weeks total time invested in it.
Okay, because you're doing a lot of the prep work and so forth, and obviously, as if you're teaching that same course over and over again, your own, ethics you're adding. But I mean, actually, if someone's, what I'm getting at is how much time are you spending instructing, how much time, how are you dividing up your time between instructing
and production?
and then production? Yeah. And I think did I have something else? No, just this, actually,
So it is a slippery slope, Tracy. I'm not even sure. Production is, right now, it still is the mainstay because that's, it's bigger chunks of money than instructing. People don't get into real estate teaching for big chunks of money. You do it because you really enjoy doing it.
Right.
So it is still the side gig. So I'm probably still 70% production and 30% training.
How do you how do you balance that in your own life? I mean, you're saying 70-30, just looking at it. I mean, is there a point where you turn down courses because you need to go spend more time over here?
What I do is I sacrifice personally. So I am the queen of, if you're invited to something on a Facebook event, I'm the queen of checking the maybe box because I don't fully commit to something socially or personally. If something for work may come up.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned you do some coaching. We mentioned, what are some of the things, I mean, are the brokers hiring you to come in and to actually do a CE course or maybe go over some other things?
I have done that as well. So I've had brokers absolutely hire me, either pay me directly or through sponsors or what have you, specifically for their agents as a tool that they provide specifically for their brokerage.
So if someone's interested in reaching out to you for if you want to call it hiring privately, for whether it's your coaching service, whether it's to have you at the broker's office, if the broker's listening here and said, hey, I'd rather just have my, come in here. You were at Landmark. Landmark's going to have this, according to David, he sat in that seat right there, told us he's got this new building with an instructional room going on. Hopefully you guys have had conversation of you coming in and presenting there. That sounds awesome. It's a brilliant business plan, in my opinion, from that standpoint. What's the best way for them to reach out to you?
So I have a very long email address, as you're familiar with. You guys ready to write this down? It's all spelled out. Integrity.
It will be in the podcast notes.
Thanks. Integrity and authenticity. See, I preach it everywhere.
Okay.
At Gmail.
Integrity and authenticity at gmail.com. All right.
Thank you. Yes.
Daniel's writing that down. Okay. All right. We are running on the tail end, so I'm going to start kind of winding things down here as I conclude. I had this question here. I'm going to read it the way I wrote it. I wanted, in your opinion, with 2 decades in the business, you're an instructor, you're seeing a lot of agents who have been in front of you, you've seen them go out, and then of course some disappear, whatever. What is, if you had one piece of advice to give any agent at any level, they ask, what's your opinion to your longevity in the business, what would that be?
You have to want it. As far as, it's that simple. How badly do you want it? Because if you want something, you're going to make sacrifices. You're going to put the work in. And you're right. I think that it goes back to the perception of things. A lot of agents go, oh my gosh, realtors and mortgage folks, they're just pulling down the bank these days, right? Because we all know real estate's a hot thing. Well, we all know it can change on a dime. I will never forget 911. There were 2 weeks of dead silence in the world. The phone wasn't ringing. I'm not sure I'm going to make the mortgage in the month of October, right? Right. So, and we've talked about tenacity and perseverance and the education piece. So there's so many pieces, but I think that you have to want it. It has to be something that you want to do. You have to recognize it is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It is an investment, and that's why you
can start making money quickly. If I'm just listening to you speak here, and I'm thinking of a couple agents. They've been on the show. They're very respected in the region. And the one thing that I can say, because to me, one of the failures to people is they don't realize they're self-employed, and no one's going to tell them to get out of bed. They can sign up for that course to show up at 9 o'clock at NEFAR, but if they don't show up, they're not getting fired.
So I had a broker early on, my first 2-3 years in the business, say, you have to wake up every morning and say, I'm unemployed. What am I going to do today to earn income?
Interesting perspective. Engagement. We were talking about being present. I'm thinking of these people. They got out there, and now, even right now, they don't have to do probably half the things they do. But like you said, you don't slow down because it's the holiday right now, because there will be a glut in January, February. So if you can put a couple deals on the board in January, February, you're way above the game. It's because of the work you did now during, Thanksgiving, the Christmas holiday seasons, January, February, March, what you're going to produce as a thing. And I'm thinking these ladies that I'm thinking of, they are out there shaking hands with everybody. They're doing their social media. They're not slowing up and going, oh man, I had a great year, let me take a couple months off. They don't, because I think one of the things too, you're talking about 100,000, you mentioned that number. And the first thing I thought of, I said, you know what, that's actually, I thought, like 5 years ago, people were like, what do you want to do? Or actually, when I got out of the call center and started actually retail, if I can do $10,000 a month, I'm good there. I'm solid there. It's 6-figure income. But you know what? When you get the $30,000-$40,000 a month, you start setting a different goal, and you start like, oh, you know what? I like to look at those numbers. Yeah,
those $25,000, $30,000 months. Those were fun months.
And then it's fun to go invest in yourself and go to a conference in Vegas or whatever you're doing and enjoy yourselves. But meanwhile, you're still working, making this business. To me, you have to make this business part of your lifestyle.
I tell people it's not a profession; it's a lifestyle.
Yeah. But
you're right. I slowed down, but I didn't take my foot off the gas. I have been delivering little bags of candies with my business card to local businesses in the past couple of weeks as well.
Yeah.
Just to stay in front of people. Exactly.
Well, we talked about that before, just staying in front, just being top of mind, however that is. They say today, these emails, guys, it's last on the list. Face-to-face, number one, of course. Writing a handwritten card or just sending someone a card. You just send someone a Christmas card. I mean, that's more than your competitors are doing. I'm telling you, they're not doing it.
Handwritten, not pre-printed.
I do something a little differently.
Okay.
I'm going to send you a card, of course, thanking you for being on the show. But one thing I found, you can do the handwritten cards, but I'm not a great handwriter. So some people think I write. Some people write. Yeah. Some people say I write like a doctor. I mean, I can do it for a little while, but then with my hand, after so many, I'm like to start to get sloppy. But I found this service. I can put my message in there, and it looks like I hand wrote it, but I actually steal pictures from Facebook, their pictures from Facebook. There's nothing more impacting when they open the card and see their pictures, as my friend Daniel has with his baby and his beautiful wife. He thinks I'm taking a picture because his wife is a great, what do they call it, photograph subject. She's beautiful, and she looks great in photos. So, I mean, to put those in a card, I mean, how did you feel when you opened it up? That's my way of getting around the hand, but there's ways to do it. Is basically what we're saying.
It goes back to it's about
motion,
them, right?
And making the emotional,
the emotional connection,
the emotional connection,
You're
building a relationship. So once again, if I was writing a book about the 40 plus that I've already interviewed, relationship building is half the book. It's half the book. The other 10 chapters would just be a couple of pages, type of thing. Relationship building and affecting people emotionally. All right, we're gonna wind up. We're gonna go to my 2-minute warning questions. Is it more important who you know or what you know?
Who, in my opinion.
How's that helped you?
So again, it's not. You don't have to hang out with the CEOs of every company, but people who make a positive impact, I think, is more important than their bank account. So their mental state of mind, how healthy are they spiritually, that type of thing.
Well, I would think that those CEOs reached a certain level, however they got there, maybe they were daddy's son, but if they're successful, they've surrounded themselves with very smart people. So finding who those smart people are and getting known. And I think in our business, hanging out with the best of the best is your influence. And if you want to be like them, for whether it's financially, lifestyle, whatever it is, you want to be hanging out with those people. Stay away from those naysayers. And a lot of them, unfortunately, are family members. Christine, what's on your travel bucket list besides Belgium?
So, the world's changed on that. So it's no secret on my social media. I am transitioning into a new real estate market. So 2022 is going to be a whole new world for me. Headed back to Sarasota tomorrow. That's my soul city. That's my serenity, my peace. So I'm there about once a month. I'm transitioning into that market. So there is no other place in the world for me. My dad has invited me home 3 times to North Carolina for Christmas. I'm going to Sarasota.
Great.
Sarasota.
All right. It's not necessarily a bucket list, though. There's got to be somewhere. Or you're staying local because of the current conditions. Okay. All right. We'll accept that answer.
I've traveled a lot, and that's where my soul is. So that's the only destination.
All right. So we've been on almost about 50 minutes here or so right now. You see how the show is formatted and how we flow. You've listened to, well, at least to Stevie's show. Who do you think would be a great guest to be on the podcast?
Jody Caputo.
Is that right? Mm-hmm. I already have her scheduled for late January. So we
See?
were like
like-minded
folks, right?
She has been a very good friend and a business colleague as well. So.
You know what? I'm sorry. I made a mistake there. I know who Jody Capillo is. I have Jody Casella on the show.
So I'm giving you
got the Jodys
Jody.
mixed up.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Capillo. You think I should contact her? I will reach out to her.
Yes.
Yes. Excellent.
So.
All right. Appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Tracy.
This has been great. I really love, as many of my guests, and I was talking to somebody, she's like, where's the podcast? Do you actually run out of people to talk to? I said, well, really, these initial shows are getting to know you. So what maybe later next year, if you aren't all the way over in Sarasota, and I'm not big into the Zoom ones yet. I mean, I know some of the big podcasters, they do the Zoom call, but just pick a subject that you and I and really dig into, whether it's instruction, what's going on from that side, or what's going on in Tallahassee. Let's pick a subject and have you back on.
I would absolutely love that. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank
All
you,
right.
Tracy.
Thank you.